Wow, look how fancy that is.
Unfortunately, the only thing that I have noticed that it doesn't work with
Right.
is the way I have the sections laid out.
Mm-hmm.
I have to go into editor to change that.
Okay.
And what you're supposed to do is those are supposed to be scenes.
Right.
And we're supposed to I can literally just go like click like whatever button and make it like switch to the next scene.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't have it currently set up that way. So I
Right.
need to actually make them into individual scenes.
Right. And that's something that we can port over to like one of the Elgato stream decks and shit when we get one.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's nifty.
We can also do a keyboard command.
I mean, I guess.
These buttons over here.
I guess.
I could program a macro.
It seems so.
I could literally just go blue.
It seems so 2002 to do it that way.
We have how 6 extra keys.
So what do we got for yeah, the chat's a little tiny, but
Yeah, chat's smaller and over here. I can't move things around though.
right.
So
I'm really surprised chat doesn't have like a pop out option.
well, I'm learning. Hold on. I can set the font. I can set the font size. I can filter a thing apparently. I can set it to different rooms.
Right. Crazy.
Edit the description.
Crazy.
Unfortunately, I can't make it larger.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess
I can make the typing part larger, but
right. How weird. This is the joys of learning a new streaming program.
yeah. And it says we're working. It says we're
Okay.
live.
Cool. Right.
And it says it's doing its thing.
Okay.
I don't know. Message Hector and tell him to.
He's in the middle of nowhere.
He has cell phone service. He can start. He needs to check the
Is that
audio.
live chat on the left?
Yeah.
And then yes, then there would be.
Oh, hey. So can you hear us? Are we working? Are we doing good? Because like I have no clue. Like everything broke before the show, and I've just spent like the last 30 minutes like fucking power fixing.
Power fixing. It's good to know. We're also using an entirely different streaming platform today, so
I'm changing everything.
you're changing everything. It's getting crazy in here.
Okay, cool.
All right, cool.
All right, yeah.
Well then.
All right, now hopefully, all right. Let's.
All right.
My phone on. No one's gonna message me. Put my phone on sad and lonely. Oh wait, it was already on that setting. No one contacts you. All right. Yeah. So it's kind of interesting. So like the events thing is like tells you followers, subscribers, and all that shit.
Okay.
And then you can also do giveaways and create live actions that happen within them.
Nifty.
Chat over there. You can switch between the scenes and the audio stuff. Preview the output. I guess it's a mixing of all the things that we needed together inside one thing.
That's fantastic. It's a great little streaming service.
Yeah,
I dig it.
So it's, and once I switch over to make the scenes go correctly, I'll be able to do that.
Awesome.
Whatever.
Well, let's actually try and record a show then. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, let's.
Good luck to us.
All
Godspeed.
right. Yeah, I'm trying all kinds of new things tonight. It's butt stuff.
It's the butt stuff of days. Just gonna try new things, see how it feels.
Well, I can't drink water, so.
Right, you just gotta drink beer. That's where we're at in Austin.
Yeah, I mean, were we drinking water before? Were we really?
No.
Like
no.
Austin. As a community, did we actually drink water? Oh, sorry, that wasn't Topo Chico.
That's very true.
Like that shit comes from Mexico. It's fine. I mean, it's Mexican water, so trust it as much as you do Mexican water.
Exactly.
But like, I don't understand people's obsession with that.
I don't get it either.
Yeah, it's weird.
All right.
Okay. All right, ready to record?
Yep.
Okay, maybe the fast setting's too fast. That's pretty slow. Green seems pretty good.
It's a golden age of horror again. But how did we get here? Adventurers, toss on your hockey masks for an all-new episode.
I really wanted to say, spoiler, it's Nazis.
It's Nazis.
It's Nazis. That's what happened.
Nazis is how we got here.
Yeah,
Spoilers.
it's
guys.
literally how we got there. It's how we got good horrors. Nazis happen again, and people are like, fuck, the world's ending. There's Nazis again.
Greetings, adventurers, and welcome to the show. We are the Surly Nerd, your one-stop shop for geek news that might have flown under your radar over the last week. I'm your host, James, and sitting across from me is the producer of this fine show, Tony.
Hi.
And out of town this week is Hector. He had
He's out of town.
He had like
It's
a
fine.
bachelor party, a wedding, or he had to go bury a body. I don't know. It all kind of blended together when he
I
tried
think
to
it's
tell.
all the same thing.
Yeah, pretty much is. So if you're new to our show, welcome. This week we'll be talking about the modern horror renaissance. But before that, we have a recap of all the nerd news that's fit to rant about for your ears. Don't forget that you can keep connected with us with surlynerd.com, where you can follow us on all social media platforms and even donate to the show. Every penny donated goes right back into the show that we make for you every week. With all that out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, adventurers of all ages, it's time for The Prelude.
Yeah, it's not doing that stupid double click thing because that mouse was dying.
Yeah.
That I'm not clicking. Oh, you clicked 3 times now.
Yep. New mouse.
Prelude.
All right, this is The Prelude. This is what we've been doing with ourselves this week, what we've been playing, what we've been watching, what has been occupying our free time. Tony, what have you been up to?
There's a really fun Halloween event going on in Destiny.
Yeah.
I've been doing that. If you'd like me to talk more about that, I will. Other than that, I watched the 3rd season of Daredevil
Yeah.
that came out on Friday.
Yeah, how was that?
It's really good. Last night, I was like, okay, I'm just going to watch one episode while I eat. And then I watched the rest of the show.
Yeah. That actually opens up a really good news opportunity because I didn't put it in the show notes, but I did post it on our Facebook page, facebook.com/thesurlynerd, that Luke Cage is gotten canceled. And of course, Iron Fist has gotten canceled now. Do we suspect that the rest of the Marvel shows on Netflix are going to be getting canceled?
Good chance.
Yeah.
I mean, Jessica Jones did pretty well. It's one of the Daredevil and Jessica Jones were the 2 favorites, honestly. From a just ratings and reviews, they were the best ones.
Right.
The 2 that got canceled were the ones which weren't doing so well. I enjoyed all of them, but I enjoy pretty much everything Netflix makes because I'm just that kind of fanboy about it.
You are, absolutely.
Netflix makes the best of everything.
You're just really excited for the
We're
Witcher
in a
to come
golden
out.
age of fucking television, and it's not on. It's only through streaming services.
True.
It's because of HBO and Netflix and a couple of other planes just being like, "Fuck you,"
And
we're doing this shit by ourselves.
And definitely keep that thought in mind because that's going to be factor very heavily into our epilogue this week. But you suspect that the rest of the Netflix shows are going to get canceled?
I think so.
Yeah. So what's your theory? Because everybody has a theory why these are being canceled. I know that I've got mine.
Well, aside from the Disney making their own streaming service,
Right.
which is everybody's default, I think it's also Netflix is starting to cancel shit. They're looking at it that Netflix spends more money on content than anyone else in the world.
Right.
Their budget is $8 billion for new content every year. That's fucking ridiculous. No one does that, but Netflix does, and Netflix produces a lot of great stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it's just time for them to end things. The announcement that the next coming season of Orange is the New Black is going to be its final season.
Right. But I see the thing is that people keep announcing that as like, oh, it's been canceled. But like, I feel
It went on long enough.
I feel like where the show ended last season, like it's a pretty comfortable spot for it to be wrapping up. Like,
it already felt like they were getting to an ending with it, because Piper's story's done.
Yeah.
And even though the most recent seasons haven't really necessarily been about Piper, that's what the book was. And also, I think that 7 seasons is good enough. It was a very good show. It started to lose itself there for a little while.
But it picked itself back up. And yeah, so my theory, honestly, is about the streaming service. My theory when I first read the news was Marvel's doing their own streaming service. Basically, Netflix is like, I'm going to break this and go home, and be done with that.
They're winning awards for their other shit that they're making.
But there's other theories that are floating around the internet, like, Marvel's, I think maybe it was Hector's theory that was like Marvel paid them a lot of money to basically cancel these shows so that they could just pick them up and put them on the new streaming service. Basically buying out the shows.
I don't see them buying them out. I really don't. I think that you would either have to announce that all of them got canceled and that all of them immediately got picked up over at Disney, or none of them are getting picked up. Right. I think this is Disney's way of saying we're getting done with that. I think that we're also going to be seeing the ending of the all the ABC Marvel shows. That once, because
you think like Cloak and Dagger is going away. You think that
I think
Runaways is going
I think
away.
all shows that aren't Marvel movies. Honestly, maybe just half of them. Maybe Thanos just snapped his fingers and took away half of them. I mean, think about it. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe half the shows will go missing.
That would be insane.
Could they just get rid of the ones on ABC and that?
I liked Cloak and Dagger.
And the Fox ones? Can they just get rid of basically the Gifted?
Well, the Gifted's not. No, the Gifted's not in the same universe.
I don't care. It is now because the Marvel.
It hasn't
Disney,
finished yet.
It's all together. I basically get rid of Legion, get rid of the Gifted, and get rid of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
You're not getting rid of Legion anytime soon. The ratings are way too high.
And at that point, get rid of half the episodes of Iron Fist and Luke Cage, and then it'll be literally even. We'll have an even number of shows. Oh wait, I forgot about the Hulu ones. Yeah, damn.
Yeah.
I gotta do some math real quick. Which ones I want to live and die.
All right, so over on my side of the world, it was a fairly productive week in terms of just what I was watching. Of course, I finished Haunting of Hill House. I've been highly recommending The Haunting of Hill House to literally everybody who would listen.
Oh, it's so good.
And like, I got a message today from one of our crew from the Lone Star Vanguard, who's down in the San Antonio chapter, and he was like, "I cried at the end."
Oh, dude, that show made me cry a couple of times.
He was like, I don't understand how I just watched a horror show that made me cry.
Yeah, no, there was a couple points in the last few episodes. It's like, I'm just fucking crying the entire goddamn time. That show fucking makes you go places.
I know. I read a review of it, and I think the review said something like, "This is basically This Is Us, but in a horror setting." Like, that's basically what the story.
I haven't watched
it. It's about a family, and a lot of tragic things happen to the family. That's what the show's about.
Okay, yeah, that's very similar.
Yeah,
in that very, very basic overarching concept that you gave us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Other than that, I mean, the fall season's been ramping up, so got started with Supernatural and got started with Riverdale, the usual.
I haven't started Riverdale up yet. I've been I just haven't been there yet.
It's good.
It's
weird.
Like
it's got magic.
Okay.
It's weird.
Okay.
It's not supposed to tie into Sabrina, but we're dealing with magic.
I mean, they already spawned the Sabrina episode whenever they had to deliver a box of H.P. Lovecraft's shit to fucking.
That is true to Greendale. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that was enough for me.
Yep. Well, you're definitely going to be very excited for this season. Also, if you like Archie Andrews mostly naked, then you're going to really dig on this season.
He's got a nice body.
That is true.
Yeah.
All right. That's everything that we have for the prelude this week. We're going to take a small break. When we come back, we'll be going to level 1 comic book news.
Oh, and yeah, I guess you could just like illegally play Red Dead Redemption 2 right now. That's
really?
Thing. Yeah, no,
well,
yeah, the PC version leaked.
Oh, Jesus.
The game hasn't come out yet, and it's already like, here it is. Here you go. Go ahead and play it. And as far as I know, nobody's even found anything that's like they did with Batman and the Arkham games.
Right.
Where they stuck you in a level that you couldn't get out of.
Right.
Like, this is straight up like the legit copy of the game is leaked online, and it's available if you want to play Red Dead Redemption 2. I personally will never play it because I have zero interest in horse testicle weather physics. It's just
you definitely do want to see the.
I just really think it's waste. If you're celebrating 80-hour fucking work weeks and that's what's coming out of it, I don't really want to have anything to do with your game.
That's true.
I'm actively going to punish you by not buying your game because you are being a detriment to the gaming industry.
Absolutely. All right, let's jump into some comics.
Oh, I gotta click the other thing now. I forgot that it's a whole new program.
Yeah, we're using a whole new program this week, guys. Like we're
just like do everything.
Yeah.
We're going into comic books.
Comics, yeah.
Okay, so I gotta actually click.
Whoa, look at that, fancy.
Yeah. Once I have everything set to scenes, then it'll be different.
We'll get it all figured out by next week, or at least by episode 300. So you only have 15 more episodes or something to go.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Hopefully. I don't know. Once I make fucking macros.
Oh, Chris said that he would do our layouts for us.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I still gotta come up with like an actual logo.
That's fine. We'll figure it out. We have like 19 episodes to go, or 18.
Those are 18 weeks. I've got less than 18 weeks
to design a logo. Yeah.
And have a life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, I don't think I can be done. I need at least solid 3 years.
I figured. Another 300 episodes before we get this figured out.
Another 300 episodes before I do another logo design. I might go back and like redo the original logo design. It was pretty good. The film reel with the joystick and the thing.
It was fun.
Yeah. All right, comic book news. Level 1, comic book news.
Hey, adventurers, welcome back to the show. All right. So we are in comic books, and over the last couple months, we've been talking about how Robert Kirkman has come out, and he said, like, hey, The Walking Dead is going to be coming to a close. Like,
Everybody got happy.
Right. I'm writing the final chapters. We're not there yet, but we're going to be getting there. Basically, I have a definitive point where this story stops now, whereas I didn't before. And he was kind of pressed about that this week. They were like, all right, so you said that it's going to happen, but, like, what are the details of this whole situation? And he was very candid about it. He's like, look, man, it's not wrapping up like anytime soon. Like, don't expect this thing to be like wrapped up tomorrow. Walking Dead's, it's all over. Everybody's fine. Everybody's cured. There's no more zombies, and Rick's alive. There you go. The end. But he did say, like, the reason he made the initial statement of it being starting to wind down was because he wanted his audience to know that he isn't kind of stumbling through the story willy-nilly, that he always is planning, like whenever we see like issue 1 of the like say the beginning of this year, whatever issue number that is.
Okay, let's just say 53. It's way past 53, but right. 53.
He's already been planning and writing like 2 years ahead of that. Right?
Okay.
Like he actually works on that kind of schedule. So when he says The Walking Dead is wrapping up, he means that like his time writing it's coming to an end, and he basically just has to polish it and get it out the door. But it still could be another 2-3 years. It's just
I mean artwork happens way slower than writing does.
The artwork is beautiful in The Walking Dead.
Yeah, no, it is. It's great. Yeah. I love the just black and white simplicity of The Walking Dead artwork, but also because it's simple and so stylized, it's not the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
They do get the benefit of not having to do the color process of it, which definitely saves some time.
It allows for really cool detail in the art that you maybe you wouldn't get, in a color version.
And I love the artwork in The Walking Dead, but again, writing happens way faster than artwork does.
Yeah,
you can imagine a scene in your head, all the dialogue, write it down, and then it's going to take 5 times as long to actually draw.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when it comes to this news and this announcement, I'm not surprised when Robert Kirkman said, like, there's, way more Walking Dead ahead before we get to the finale. But I find some kind of comfort still in him saying, like, there is a definitive ending. I do know where this is going. I am planning this far out. I'm not basically milking this cow forever. I just got to get... He's basically saying in his interview that I've got to get to the natural point for the story to end and conclude.
Yeah, he's moving his plot line into a point where he can finalize it,
right,
where it can be done and over with. And
yeah, and you got to respect that. You got to respect that as an artist. Like he didn't realize Walking Dead was going to be a success. He had to lie to get The Walking Dead made.
Yes, there's supposed to be aliens.
Yes, there were supposed to be aliens.
Honestly, I have an idea what the last page is.
It's just aliens show up.
It's aliens showing up and like beaming up like Rick, and that's it. Like that's the ending. And it's just like, what the fuck happened with that? It's like, and then he has a note. It's like, I remember I lied to make this book, and I was supposed to have aliens in it. Here you go. Now it has aliens. I legit gave you... I said eventually.
That is true. All right, so if you've been following our show, you know that we've been talking a little bit about Archie Comics and how they teamed up with Marvel recently to start doing these Marvel Comics digests. I'm pretty sure if you've ever been in a grocery store, you've seen the Archie digests, or these smaller kind of little trade paperbacks you pick up for a couple bucks. It's really just easy to read, pick up Archie Comics. We were pretty excited about this concept because we were like, you know what? The Archie Digests apparently still sell well enough that they keep them on the newsstands. Them doing this with Marvel sounds like a brilliant plan.
I see them every single day. I think they're really cool. I pick them up and randomly flip through and read some stories.
Right.
Sometimes.
So maybe it would be a good time if you pass by one of those Marvel books to pick it up, because it turns out as of this week, Archie is going to be ending its run of Marvel Comics Digest after August's issue number 8, I believe, is the last one.
See, I haven't seen them yet. Like, they're not in my store.
Yeah. So whatever,
like, our store doesn't carry them.
Right. So whatever has already come out, they're going to be basically like selling all those off.
Yeah.
But the 9 and 10 will not be coming out.
Okay,
so,
I guess they didn't sell well enough for them to continue down, which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But maybe some kids got into comic books.
Yeah, I don't know. This is kind of weird because this almost kind of goes back to that earlier point where we were talking about Netflix and, like, Marvel canceling things on, possibly canceling things on Netflix. And it's like maybe Marvel's deciding to, like, just gather all their resources now that this Fox deal is coming under them. And they're like, well, we already have a streaming service, so we'll go ahead and just like because like DC Unlimited has comics on their site.
Yeah.
Right now, as far as we know, the Disney streaming service is just like Marvel and Disney stuff. Whereas the DC Unlimited
and Star Wars,
and Star Wars, but the DC Unlimited stuff, while it is just DC related, also has access to comics. It also has access to like motion comics and stuff like that. Things that are not just going there to stream a video.
Yeah.
So it's possible Marvel might be gathering their resources and saying, hey, we're going to cut these ties, we're going to cut these business deals, and trying to refocus our efforts on making a platform all its own.
Like I see where you're going with this, and it seems it's in the realm of good conspiracy theories.
It is, absolutely.
It's not like it's not gay frogs. It's not gay frogs.
Right. That is the biggest conspiracy. But yeah, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility, and I'm not going to go in here ranting and saying that it
but
is.
To me, it's conspiracy theory. I think it's legit.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it's legit. Like, they just didn't sell as much as they were hoping they were going to, so they're just going to go ahead and nix it.
Sure.
They're going to try a million other ways to get comic books in the hands of little kids.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that tobacco and alcohol companies do. You got to get them when they're young.
That is true.
Every religion, tobacco, everything that really wants to get you addicted needs to get you when you're young. Otherwise, you turn into an adult and go, well, I don't need that. That's just dumb.
Right. I found
Except for you do need alcohol to live because that's the only way to deal with being an adult.
That is true. All right. So we got some positive news. Our last little bit of comic book news for the week is actually fairly positive. And I wish Hector was here to talk about this because this is something that he's been waiting for a long time. So Captain Marvel has an ongoing comic book story right now. They're revisiting Captain Marvel's origin story that's going to be put in a trade paperback about the time right before the movie comes out.
Yep.
Okay. So
this is what we've actually been wanting for them to do for a comic book / movie release at the same fucking time.
Right.
Have a place where you can be like, and here you go.
Right. This is the starting point. This is where you go. So one thing's been very interesting about this. Obviously, we're kind of going back into Captain Marvel's origin story with this comic. But people have noted now that the first couple issues are out, her origin is not like the way that it was originally. So in the original Captain Marvel storyline, she was basically Green Lantern. She was a pilot for the Air Force. Captain Marvel shows up and he's like, here, have these powers. And she's like, cool story, bro. Takes his powers and boom, Green Lantern, except not. She's now Carol Danvers of the Space Corps.
Yeah, we get it.
So that was her original story. Now we've got a different story where she's actually half Kree. And that a Kree weapon like detonates like close to Danvers while she's a pilot, and that basically like activates or something like that. I want to say.
Okay.
It says,
we do know that the Kree are finally.
Right. So in the original version of it, her DNA fused with Captain Marvel's during an explosion, and that's what happened. So in the retelling of it, they're saying that instead of it, like giving her the powers, she basically the Kree side of her wakes up when this happens.
Okay.
And people have started wondering if this is going to be the origin story for the movie.
I mean, it's a good possibility. I don't know.
Right.
I don't even watch a trailer for any of this yet. I know some trailers leaked recently.
Right.
I'm just not going to watch because I don't want to know this information.
But a rewritten origin story so close to the
movie release does make you think that this is going to be the new origin based on the way the comic or the movie's stories is.
And there's a couple weird other factors
that
here.
That sentence is hard to say.
Like, so of course there's like Mar-Vell was the original guy that gave her the powers, right? That was Captain Marvel. She has Captain Marvel's new name. This is so weird to say. Is going to be Kar-El.
Carl?
Carl? No, C-A-R-E-L-L.
Carl. That's Carl.
So the thing that people immediately went to is like, isn't like Supergirl's name like that? Like, isn't that pretty close to
it's basically Supergirl and Carl. it's like Carl from The Walking Dead and Supergirl had a baby and it's Captain Marvel.
Right.
And
now there has been a little bit of positive feedback from the fans on this. And it's weird to discuss it in these terms, but a lot of people that have been reading this new origin story have really been enjoying it because they said in the original origin story, like basically she was handed her powers by a dude.
Yeah.
Like that's how it works.
Yeah, no, it's Shazam. It's the origin story of a lot of heroes where it's like here's a magical being, have some powers, figure your shit out.
But in this new version, she's more empowered because the power does come actually from within her, and she has to then tap it. And it's a much more positive message, essentially. Instead
of just being handed superpowers and figuring out how to deal with them, that you actually are. The truth was inside you all along.
Exactly,
kind of thing.
It's that kind of thing. But it's a more empowering origin story for people to read.
I can see where you're saying that. I don't know. I like both of them at this point. Like both of them are good origin stories.
All that really matters is that we're getting some amazing Captain Marvel stuff.
Yeah,
like it was really cool because I was thinking about this the other day, and like growing up, obviously we had tons of superhero t-shirts, right? Even as kids, like you could buy a Spider-Man t-shirt, buy a Superman t-shirt, whatever. But like girls, if they wanted to buy a superhero shirt, they were almost always
it's Wonder Woman.
They get Wonder Woman, but other than that,
or the pink Superman shirt, which is supposed to be Supergirl, but it was just the
but you're pretty much relegated to having to wear a boy's shirt. And I was thinking to myself, man, like if they make a Captain Marvel shirt, like I'm gonna buy that shit because like it's only fair at this point, right?
I get to have the big. It's just like a North Star kind of thing. It's
I'm down. I am on board.
I'm cool with that.
Exactly. All right, that's everything that we have for comic book news this week. We're gonna take a small break. When we come back, we'll be going to level 2 video game news.
Okay, video game news. Let me go ahead and save this.
Okay. Hi, everybody.
All right, that's saved. Yeah, I'm recording this in mono this time because I always end up putting the tracks in mono anyway.
Okay.
And I record in mono because I don't have a set to a left and right channel because I just think that's ridiculous. Why would I do that? Because then I would just be hearing myself in one ear and you in the other ear.
Right.
And that would drive me crazy.
Right.
And then where would Hector go? Because he's got to be.
He doesn't get a channel.
No, his channel is 0.
His channel is 0.
All right. Yeah, we're going into video. Once I find the mouse again. That's more of like I just don't know where the fuck I left the cursor. So
new software, new mouse, new everything.
Video game. We're not talking about Red Dead Redemption.
We're not
at all. Never. We only talk about it in between breaks. Ever. That's the only thing.
We talked about it last week.
Did we?
Yeah, we insulted them for saying that they made
it was the 80 hours work week. That's where he was pissed off about them. Yeah.
Let's go.
All right, fine. Level 2, video game news.
Hey, adventurers, and welcome back to the show. All right, so going into video games this week, we found out a lot about, as much as they've ever given out, about this game, The Quiet Man. So if you don't remember this game, and I understand.
Don't remember this game.
So it was at E3, and it was this weird hybrid. Like it started off with like a dude who was obviously deaf walking down a back alley of a street, and then people are talking to him. There's no audio because he's deaf.
Is this the one that started out as a live action thing?
Right. It starts as live action and then it goes into a video game.
Well, it goes into the Uncanny Valley, and that was the reason why I hated. I was like, "Oh, this looks fucking horrible,"
right?
Because it's got way Uncanny Valley thing happening.
So it does. So the game itself transitions from like this like live action video to weird action game, I guess, essentially.
Fighting thingy.
Yeah. And so it's done by Square Enix, and we knew nothing about it other than the bizarre-ass trailer that we got. Then a couple weeks back, we heard that this isn't going to be like a full $60 game experience.
Okay.
This is going to be like a minor price point somewhere between like, I think it was maybe somewhere between like 15 and 25.
Don't quote me actually on that. Making a budget title game?
It's actually a budget title game.
Okay.
And that it was actually going to be getting dropped in like November or something, like out of nowhere. There's like, yeah, by the way, it's going to be getting dropped on Steam.
What?
Just like,
okay.
And from everything that we're hearing about this, it sounds like you're basically be paying for like an elaborate tech demo. Like they're saying that you can play it in one session. Like you just sit down and play the whole game in one session.
It's not a very long game.
Right.
It's probably going to be like maybe 4 hours.
Right. Maybe. It's considered, they call it a immersive story-driven cinematic action experience. That's their PR line for this game.
That just gave me cancer.
So yeah, I mean, it's going to be a budget title somewhere between $15 and $25. Also interesting is that they said this week that when you beat the game, because the main character is deaf, obviously, you can replay the story with sound.
Oh, cool.
It's like a weird, like...
No, I think that part's interesting, but I don't want to play this game.
Right.
I have zero interest in playing Uncanny Valley, the game. Like, if it looks anything
I
like
think that
that
if it
weird,
even
bad
got anywhere
Switch-
close to good ratings, I would be surprised. Because this sounds like they made a tech demo at some point, like a bunch of guys at Square Enix made it. And they're like, well, we got to pay you for your time working on this thing. I guess we could just release it and see what happens.
Yeah,
and if it's popular, then we'll make a full game out of it. But if it's not, then we'll ditch it.
I get that. I get what they're trying to do.
It just sucks because
I don't have to like it.
We as gamers always want new original IPs. And on paper, like when we first saw the trailer for it, like aside from the weird Uncanny Valley CGI thing, I was like, this is kind of a really cool concept. We're going to be exploring something that very rarely gets done.
Oh, yeah. If they didn't have the video part preceding it and it was entirely in-game footage, I would have been like, okay, this is way cooler. But the idea that you're going to have sections that are video and then you're going to act out other parts of it in this bad
it feels
mix of real life
feels
uncanny.
like PlayStation
I keep saying Uncanny
1.
Valley, and it's because it really just looking at them, you go, oh, you're not human, and that's wrong because you were human and now you're not. And also, they shot the thing in like that super high frame rate because they're expecting us to run like super high frame rates in a game. So you want the video part to be part of, like feel like that. But unfortunately, if you record real life at 120 frames a second and play it back, it looks like shit.
It's true.
The world looks really bad. Honestly, if you were stopping to record it and then look at it, the world is a horrible, disgusting place, and we shouldn't record it unless it's like 23. Like my brain has been trained to where 24 frames a second is acceptable because it blurs reality enough to where magic can happen on film.
Right.
And if you go faster than that, like in the case of the Hobbit films, and you go up to 60 frames a second, you immediately see every piece of rubber attached to every person's face. You can tell what is CGI and what is real, and it's disorienting, and it makes you ill.
Right. Yeah, I feel like this is a concept that would have been put out during like late era CD-ROM, like PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 era.
Well, they kind of did. There were those weird live action video game crossover things. There was the Haunted game.
Well, I mean, like any of the old, like, you know, point and click adventures like Phantasmagoria or anything like that, King's Quest, I think, all that kind of stuff used this hybrid of live action actors on a green screen, essentially.
Shit, Mortal Kombat did.
I mean, yeah, Mortal Kombat absolutely did. I mean, that was probably one of the more successful ventures into that. They just managed
because they were really shitty they turned into shitty GIFs that were so small and so low res that it worked perfectly.
That is very, very true. So I'm interested to see what the reviews are going to be for The Quiet Man. Like I said, it seemed like an interesting concept, but coming in at that budget title, I really feels like it's Square Enix saying we didn't really have faith in it on this new IP, but we just want to get it out there and see if we can make a quick buck off of it.
If we're given like a demo code to test it out and review it, I'll test it out and maybe review it.
Yeah,
maybe
I'll stream the damn thing.
But I'm not going out of my way to watch somebody stream this. I'm not going out of my way to really do anything aside from maybe watch a 5-minute YouTube like video for it. That's about it.
Yeah, you're not putting yourself out for The Quiet Man.
Yeah.
All right. So let's jump a little bit into Discord, that thing that all of us use when we're playing video games online. So
it's the easiest way to talk to people. It's like,
it is.
I mean, if you're going on PC gaming, it really is. Unless your game is like through the Microsoft Store or whatever, then use Xbox Live, because Xbox Live is fucking perfect.
You know what I find so fascinating is the history of communication online, where we started off with simple messaging services like AIM and stuff like that, and we eventually got voice messaging. We had like, you know, Ventrilo, and, you know, then Skype showed up, and it was like video calling's a thing. We can video call now. And now
webcams finally dropped in price enough where they were accessible.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And like everybody has one. Now we've gone back and we're just like, can we just go back to chat rooms?
Can we just not see each other or hear each other, or
like there's a voice option in Discord if we absolutely need it, but really
no. Discord's voice option is great whenever you're playing like a team based game together.
Oh yeah, I use it for Overwatch all the time.
You're using Overwatch, or you're playing like League of Legends, or literally any game that requires communication. Yeah. It is faster to say something as to type it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's one of the things I love about it. Like in-game chat is fine if you don't want to talk.
The problem is that this Discord wouldn't exist if game companies knew how to make fucking in-game chat good.
Yeah, no, they didn't. I mean, look at Destiny's PC release.
Yeah.
It took them like 6 more months after the PC release to actually put in a chat program that was a worldwide chat.
Yeah.
Like it's something they said, well, we knew you wanted this, but we also knew it wasn't going to work.
I know. Like at this point, like games just need to like integrate Discord into their fucking game.
I don't understand why they don't, because Discord has an open API.
Yeah.
You can do that.
Okay, so let's get back on track here. What is the news item that we're talking about?
I have no fucking clue.
So the news item is that over this last week, Discord launched its Discord store.
Oh.
All right. So when you load up Discord now, your splash page is a store, and this is
Like
already
to buy like shirts and stuff.
nope,
or?
for games.
Oh,
for
so
games.
so this is like the same thing Steam did whenever Steam basically stole Discord and put it inside Steam, so you could have chats and all this other stuff and buy games. Except for the chat part sucks. In this case, Discord, which the chat part works, is now going to start adding in the games that probably aren't that good of deals.
Right. So the first thing to know about this new service that they're launching is that they're going to curate which games go on the service.
Awesome.
Right. So
I think they should go one step further, and they should require that the games that they are selling through their store to have Discord integration.
There you go. So what this means is when you look at a platform like Steam or the Android marketplace, there are no rules in place for putting your software on there. If I wanted to make
The Wild West.
if I wanted to
Throw some
make
shit up.
12 Dick Tentacle Hentai the game, I can make that. In fact, I could probably rip off somebody else's resources, put a different splash of paint on
Honestly,
it, and then upload
why
it.
don't you make that, but also make it a clone of Flappy Bird?
There you go. And just throw it onto the Steam store and make a quick buck. And this has been a point of contention for a while because on one hand, we say, well, any game that's made should get released to the public and have an opportunity to be sold. On the other hand, you say, well, like 5 million titles were released on Steam last year. Like, how do you even know where to go or what games are good? Because there's no way to curate that.
There's no, I mean, and you have to basically pay to try the thing and see if you even like it.
Right.
And to even make a review saying, I like this or I don't. Most of these games aren't given away to people like us to review. The games that are given to us are from larger companies, people that have more than probably one employee.
Exactly.
And they have a budget behind them. These small independent games that are made by one person in their house can be amazing. We just don't know because there's literally everyone doing this. And
Exactly.
that causes a problem. It's there are people in there just to make a quick buck that are literally going to rip off assets of another game, change one thing, and put it out there for 1 cent cheaper, and that's what they're going to do.
Exactly.
But then there are legit people like us that will sit here and learn how to code a game and make their own new unique thing, and then put it on there and hope somebody buys it, and that somebody might leave a positive review, and that positive review might cause someone else to buy it.
Yeah.
Because it's not curated, because they basically Steam doesn't play or Valve doesn't play the game and go, well, this is good or bad. They just say everybody put whatever the fuck you up. You need somebody to literally play at least part of your game, going, the controls are fine, the video is fine, the game deserves to be in our store.
So there's a couple other key components to this whole thing that they're doing.
Okay.
One is they're curating their content so that you can get better games offered to you when they say, hey, there's a sale that popped up. The second thing is they're going to have their own first on Discord exclusive titles. So these are games that will release to other platforms, but you will be able to buy them first on Discord.
Okay, so this is them working with companies, giving them money to gain access.
Right. Now, the last bit of this is Discord Nitro. So Discord Nitro originally was just a fancier version of Discord that you could buy.
It has 3 times the amount of caffeine as normal Discord.
It pretty much does. You could have like unlimited emotes and like there's a lot of just like little minor features that you could buy into for Discord Nitro. However, the new Discord Nitro, instead of it being $5, is going to be $9.99. But what this does with the additional $5 that you're paying for is that you get an all-you-can-play access to a catalog of about 60 titles.
Okay, so this is a monthly fee, right?
Right.
So this is like their version of the Xbox Game Pass.
Absolutely.
I was going to give anybody else having an option like that, and nobody really has an option like the Game Pass.
What you were looking at is a Discord coming out swinging out of nowhere, saying,
Humble Bundle does, if you are a monthly subscriber, have access to about 20 games that you can just download and play whenever the fuck you want.
Right.
So there's 3. We have 3 now.
On one hand, they are going after Steam because they're going to have their own curated library. And so that's going to be a kind of a point in their favor is maybe there aren't as many games, but maybe they're just all better games.
Yeah.
And then you have them
at the same price. And
exactly.
That's good.
And then you have them kind of going on the Microsoft front and saying like, so that whole Xbox Game Pass thing that they're doing, like we can totally do that with our service as well.
It's not a bad idea.
Right.
And currently Microsoft has
we're not talking
no
about
competition in that specific marketplace.
Right. And we're not talking like, oh, you're going to get like, Flappy Bird on this thing. Like This War of Mine, Metro Last Light, Soma, Wasteland 2 Director's Cut, Galactic Civilization, Darksiders 2 Definitive Edition. God, I hate saying that word.
It took me a good day of reading it and saying it aloud to finally be able to say definitive.
Yeah. It's a horrible fucking word.
Once you figure it out,
somebody
you're like,
in marketing,
that's just how you say that.
Somebody in marketing should have been shot for that word.
As a piece of text, when you read it, you go, that's cool. And then you try to say it and go, that hurts.
I sound like I have a dick in my mouth when I try and say it.
I mean, you normally do anyway, but that's fine. Your hobby's your hobby.
That's true. I mean, don't judge me for my hobbies. All right. So these are not small games that are going to be coming out to this Nitro package.
Okay.
So, I mean, when you look at all of these factors I've just given you, Discord just made giant moves in the gaming space out of nowhere.
I wouldn't say it's out of nowhere. This has been a plan of theirs all along. They know that the timing is right. Right now, you've got a lot of new games about to release, and if they can get on that new game bandwagon, especially on the thing that you're going to load up whenever you go to do anything. Like, seriously, I start up this computer and Discord starts, which I need to turn off because I really fucking hate when things auto-start. Like, it really bothers me.
I know. I mean, look at Steam real quick. One of the facts and figures that came out of Steam last year is that 21 games were released on Steam every day in 2017.
That's like so many.
Right? Like
so many.
Like getting to a system like what Discord's trying to do, it may not put a dent in Steam, but it's going to scare them a little bit.
I think so.
Because if more people are willing to buy with a good curated content the way that Steam used to be, it's a big deal.
Whenever it was a couple months ago, Steam got updated and it basically looked almost exactly like Discord.
Yeah.
It was trying to behave like Discord, but it was not and did not function near as well.
Exactly.
It wasn't as coded as beautifully as Discord is. And that's weird to say. Discord's fucking really good damn
oh yeah, that's solid code, man. Like it is so good.
And its voice chat fucking works. I would consider Discord's voice chat on par with Xbox Live. And no one else has that.
That's true.
Sony doesn't have that. Nintendo doesn't have that. Ventrilo doesn't have that. No one has that level of you connect in and you can talk to people and it's easy as shit to just connect with your friends and just load it up and the sound quality is good.
You talk about something like TeamSpeak and Ventrilo. They're amazing voice programs, but they require a more advanced technical know-how to get to. And I know this is as simple as...
That's the reason I said it's like Xbox Live. Right. You go, this is my friend. I can literally go double click and be like, hey, we're in a chat room. We can literally hear each other talk now.
Yeah.
That's that.
And I realize, and I'm not trying to say that like knowing an IP address is a hard thing, but the steps, it's less user accessible than Discord is. And that's
it's a barrier to entry. And I think that barrier to entry, people are like, well, you can be snobby about it and say, well, we'll get good, learn tech shit. And you're like, or let people fucking play games.
Yeah. And
quit being a gatekeeper and let filthy casuals be filthy casuals and play games, you motherfucker.
Exactly. All right. Speaking of filthy casuals. So our last little bit of video game from the news for the week, we're going to be talking about Fortnite. Of course, Fortnite shows up in the news like every fucking week, and we try not to talk about it unless we absolutely have to.
I actually, on my personal news feed, have now blocked Fortnite news because I just don't. It keeps giving me updates of like where this gelatinous cube is going and where these other things are moving around.
Right.
And
you want actual news?
I want actual news. I mean, the one thing out of Fortnite news I ever actually really cared about, that was just shown to me, was the dude that got the highest kill count in the game's history and probably will only ever be him because he knocked down a platform that looked like half the people in his game.
Yeah, that was cool. I like that.
I was like, okay, he killed like 49 people like chopping down a thing. That was fucking cool.
Okay, so why is Fortnite in the news this week?
Yeah,
well,
again.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about cheating in Fortnite. Cheating obviously is very prolific. In a game that is as popular as Fortnite, you have to assume there are going to be cheaters. Like flat out, that's just the way that it works.
Somebody will write a program that auto aims everything for
it's
you.
almost like, there's almost an equation for it. Like the more popular your online title is, the more people will try and create cheats and hacks for it. Like that's a sign of success. Like when somebody is trying to create cheats for your game, you're successful. So there are two people who were very famous game streamers for Fortnite. And these two streamers actually, on their streams, were promoting certain cheat programs that existed. You had to like pay for to use. And basically, they were being sponsored by this cheat program to like say, look, these guys are using it. You know, we use it, we win. You should buy it. You should do it. Right. That's the gist of the whole situation. Okay. Then Epic just came out of nowhere this week and said, so about that. So you're one getting kicked off of Twitch for, you know,
like Twitch will ban you because of you breaking policies and rules that they have a shitload of.
For violation of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, breach of contract, and tortious interference, they are being sued by Epic Games. And there is zero about this that has anything to do with money. Because obviously Fortnite makes a shit ton of cash. Yeah. Epic Games is drawing a line in the sand and says that if you try and cheat in our games, you're breaking the terms of service and we will fucking sue you.
This isn't the first time this has happened, though.
Yeah. Oh,
no. We had this not too long ago. It was, I can't remember what game. It was, there were like 7 kids that got sued by, I can't remember the game company. I'm really, really bad at the news on this because I can't remember something that happened like a year ago.
Right.
But this happened, and it fucked over the lives of quite a few people that were like underage. And I was siding with the video game company because it's like, well, they did cheat.
Yeah.
And that did break terms of service. Mm-hmm. And you're 17, which in most places, you know, if you kill somebody at 17, they're going, you're adult enough to know better.
This is just kind of like the Wild West, though. This is something that we've never really had to deal with. You know, when we were growing up playing on our Nintendos or whatever we were playing on, we weren't worried that like...
Even if it was a Sega, it was still called a Nintendo.
Right. Everybody called them Nintendos. It didn't matter. My Atari was my Nintendo to my grandmother.
Yes. It's like literally growing up, it was so funny.
Right, but we never worried that like if we slapped a Game Genie on our cartridge and threw it in there that like, you know, somebody's going to... the FBI is going to bust down the door and be like, why are you cheating at Mario? Why are you bad?
See... I don't want anybody to know about this, but like it's not necessarily in this apartment, but within very close walking distance, I do have a Game Genie and the book with the codes in it.
Wow, how fancy was it for the Genesis?
It was for the Nintendo.
Oh, the Nintendo.
Yeah, I had the Nintendo.
They had the weird wobbly one. Yeah, so we never had to worry about that kind of stuff back when we were younger. But obviously, we weren't playing online games; those weren't affecting the enjoyment of other people.
Yeah, no, it was basically you probably already beat the game. And because you're a child and have no money, you're going to keep playing this one game. So now you can just fuck with the one game you own.
Or you're playing Castlevania or Mega Man, and you're like, "Fuck, this game's hard. I'm fucking putting a Game Genie on this thing."
All right, no, I'll even go back to fucking Diablo, the original Diablo, running a
Boba Fett's program,
the Boba Fett .exe that allowed you to endlessly dupe items to create whatever weapon you wanted to.
There was rampant cheating in the original Diablo. If you ever played it online,
but it wasn't an online game at the beginning. It wasn't until the expansion that Blizzard didn't make did that come into play. Mm-hmm. So
no, Diablo had online functionality from the beginning. Yes, that was the foundation. That's when Battle.net was created, but nobody could anticipate A, the popularity of Diablo, and B, that somebody would try to figure out how to hack a game because the game runs so much server side. They're like, yeah, it's practically unhackable, right? Because it all exists on data that we have here on our servers. How could they possibly do this? Because
there were also those dungeons were legit randomly generated.
We didn't know how, right? That was a time where we couldn't picture somebody figuring out how to hack a game like Diablo. Yeah. Because of things like Boba Fett's trainer, that we now have better anti-hacking methods in place for modern gaming, which is why, kind of going back to this main point, when companies are starting to come down on things like this, cheating, like somebody cloning themselves in Diablo, I don't care. But in a game like Fortnite, where there's sometimes money at stake, because they are going to be implementing tournaments. That was announced this week that like they are going to implement actual tournaments.
Fortnite's already had like they've already had like $1 million prize pool in one of the tournaments.
But a lot of tournaments for gaming, you have to go somewhere to do it, right? It has rules and restrictions. You got to be at DreamHack or something like that.
Like you literally have to go to a place to do the thing.
But Fortnite's being very progressive in the sense that they go, well, not everybody can go to a DreamHack. So why should that limit you as a player to be able to compete in our tournaments?
Well, why? I mean, this kid from like New Zealand that might be fucking amazing.
Right.
He can't fly to LA to take place in this thing.
You're denying somebody a chance to be able to become like a pro gamer because you say they have to go somewhere to do it. So it's really cool and very progressive of Epic to be doing this. But at the same time, you see now the other side of this coin, to go back to the news, why when Epic Games is going to be actually suing people that are cheating in the game, they're saying that like they want their platform to be legitimate. That when somebody enters a Fortnite tournament, their victory should be based on their own skill and not the fact they were able to get a bot to do something for them.
Yeah, all right. So this is also going, about 2 weeks ago, they talked about how the Zim users should, how they want to try banning them. All right, so first off, they're impossible to connect, unless you are actively watching the person play.
What is this program?
All right, so it's not a program. It's literally a physical object that you plug into your... This is for console players of Fortnite. So I'm going to give you a bit more background. Console players can, whether it be PlayStation 4 or Xbox... actually, you can run this... No, it's Android's a different way to do it. You can actually just run Android application inside your PC and run it that way. But there's a different way to cheat for the Android version. But for console players, it's this little triangle-looking box, and you plug in your controller into one part, and you plug in a keyboard and mouse into the other.
Got it.
And then it has a cable that goes directly into your system, and it routes all these mouse and keyboard controls through your controller and sends it to the system as a controller whatever information.
Right.
And it's impossible to connect or to detect because it does read as a controller.
Right.
But as long as if you turn all of your settings up on everything to maximum, you now are faster and you can move as basically running a mouse and keyboard.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I know people who run them, and mostly because they hate using a controller. They are just easy. They find using a mouse and keyboard easier. I'm the opposite. I run a controller on my PC because I think it's easier. Also, I play characters that shoot grenade launchers, so I don't fucking need to aim. Yeah. What is aiming? I know the enemy's there. I shoot there.
Yeah, so do we anticipate that this is going to become a bigger deal? I obviously am going to say yes, because honestly, with a game that's as big as Fortnite, while it's not one that I particularly enjoy playing, obviously millions and millions of people do. And it's very important for Epic Games to be able to have that trust with their community. Their community for this game to continue flourishing has to have the trust of their users. Yeah, no. And if there's rampant cheating, you lose the trust of the player base and they leave.
They have to have a difference between the different game types. If you're playing on PC, you do have the advantage of a keyboard and mouse and a faster frame rate. If you're playing on console, you do have a controller you have to deal with. If you're playing on a cell phone, you've got touchscreen controls, which are way slower. And there are ways to cheat on every single one of these platforms.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And like I've literally just explained one as a Zim thing. Yeah. Overwatch, Jeff Kaplan is very adamant that if you ever use a Zim, you're going to be instantly banned from playing Overwatch and your account's gone. That's the same thing that Epic Games said whenever they said, like, if we catch you using one, your literally account is banned and you're no longer allowed to play our game.
Yeah.
I think that because these programs that they're using are way more detrimental than somebody using a mouse and keyboard on instead of a controller.
Yeah,
that
they're going to focus their efforts on the real cheaters.
I think that this is legit cheating that actually maybe does seek legal action. Yeah. But the other person who bought a Zim and uses a keyboard and mouse, first off, they can't go to a tournament and do that. Yeah, you can't show up at a console tournament and be like, well, hold on, let me hook up my mouse and keyboard. Right, you're not going to do that. This is obviously, but then the same thing. How the fuck are these people? I get that these are online tournaments now, so it is easier for people to cheat in this way. Right. But it's also way easier to start, at least for program-wise, detecting them.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a weird Wild West that we're in, so I guess we'll hear more about this in the future. That is everything that we have for video game news this week. We're going to take a small break. When we come back, we'll be going into Level 3 Entertainment News.
Good, because I need a beer. And sorry, Warlock, you totally gave us a wall of text that I just turned around and realized. Yeah. So I need to stop and read that and save my game, or save project, not my game. Yeah. I guess this is kind of.
Save your game.
I save it during video game news. I save my game.
What did he have?
Okay, so I need to. I like this program, but it makes the chat great for somebody who's right next to it.
We will figure out the new chat software soon.
It's the same chat software, but yeah, we talked about Luke Cage being canceled a little bit.
Yeah, we touched all those bases.
Because I watched all of Daredevil in like a night because I'm crazy. Something about Cloud9. Which for me, Cloud9 isn't a gaming thing. It's the store that they work at in that show.
The biggest esports team like ever.
Yeah, whatever. I don't care. It's the name of the store in that TV show that I watch. So no spoilers on season 3 of Daredevil. Like, I really want to spoil something like so badly now. Like,
Daredevil's in it.
Daredevil is in it.
He's not blind. He's not blind. We've determined he's not blind, by the way, just so you know. Like, they keep saying he's blind, but he's obviously not blind at all.
Well, at the beginning, he's definitely more blind. He's more blind.
He's not blind now, all right? Motherfucker can see.
He is a seeing.
No, at the beginning of season 3, he's more blind. Like,
Okay.
he had a building fall on him. None of his body's gonna work right after that.
You fought me on this.
I know, and I agree with you, but I fight with you on it just based on the premise that he physically is blind, but everything else makes him not blind.
But he can see.
With
He says he can
sonar
see
brain.
He said it in the show.
Sonar brain is it's a term that I made up. Okay, let me finish reading things. North America's success in international competition of 2008 for gaming. Okay, first off, I don't follow CS:GO, honestly. The only thing I really kind of follow is Overwatch. Wow, they actually somebody beat the fucking Koreans in League of Legends. That's kind of amazing. All right, so I'll discuss the acceptance thing. This is something we discuss. We kind of the reason why we created a second show whenever we made the Outlaws Outpost, because it is a show to bring people in and teach them about what our favorite team is, the Houston Outlaws, but also that I'm somebody who doesn't follow esports. I don't follow sports. I honestly don't give a shit. I like playing some video games. I like reading comic books and watching movies. I don't care about how good someone is at the thing. I just want to be good. When I started watching Overwatch League, I was like, holy fuck. Now I understand why people like the fucking whatever local sports team it is that they like. And that, for me to say that is like, that is it's an important step in the acceptance of professional esports. I think because Overwatch has, it's complex, but it's very simple. It's not to say League of Legends isn't complex. It is, but to me, it's very, very fucking boring. It's a top-down, point and click, move some armies over here, and do the thing. It's just not that interesting to me. It doesn't also seem that skilled to me, because it's just, I don't know. It's just, it reminds me way too much of StarCraft or anything like that, where I'm just like, okay, whatever, don't care. Yeah, somebody beat me at StarCraft. You moved your troops faster. I don't fucking give a shit. And especially because it's already preset maps. It's not even like randomly generated, so it doesn't like it's not confusing anytime. It's obviously 3 lanes. It's going to be the same thing every time. I think that Overwatch has a higher skill gap, but that's also because I personally like first-person shooters more, and I think there is a higher skill in first-person shooters. And I did watch part of the World Cup for Overwatch, mostly because it was Team USA going against Team Canada, and Team USA beat the living shit out of them. It was so funny. I enjoyed that. And then right now it's on the international side that I don't care about, but we're about to get back around to where everybody has to play against everybody, since we've done the regional stuff at this point. Let's see. All right, so yeah, like I didn't really know the difference between real-time strategy and MOBAs because I don't like playing MOBAs. Like, I've looked at them and went, hey, this isn't for me. I also don't really like real-time strategy games. Any of the top-down stuff, I'm really not interested in. The closest for top-down that I like is Diablo, and that's 2.5 degree, and it's also just smashing things, and I like smashing things. So those are games I'm not really follow. CS:GO, I wish I could like, but it's so... I guess it's just too precise and doesn't have any variance. Also, it just kind of looks fucking boring. Great, it's games have to actually look cool for me, and it's a game that's just yellow. Like in my brain, when I think of CS:GO, I just think of the color yellow, and I don't seem. I get that it's meant to run at super insane frame rates, because it's such a low graphically quality game. It's also fucking old as shit, which is why I'm really confused on how people still can fucking want to play this game. I like my... I don't know. I'm not the best person to go for esports, honestly. I don't like most of them. The only one that I really started caring for was Overwatch League. And that was because the Houston Outlaws had a really cool symbol of the guns that made a cow skull. And they were from Houston, and their colors were black and green. I thought that was interesting. The other teams that were in there, yeah, there may have been better ones, and I don't like them just based purely because... go local thing for me, and Houston was local, even though Houston is closer than Dallas for Austin, and Dallas can also go fuck themselves because their entire team is made up of assholes, or at least was. They like all got fired. That was another reason why it was Overwatch League was more interesting. There was the social media aspect to it that you actually got to know the players, and it wasn't just a look at what's going on the screen. You don't know who these people are unless you have previously watched all of them and on their streaming stuff. If you watch their Twitch accounts, which for me, I'm not going to go out of my way to watch somebody's Twitch account. I don't give a shit. The only time I spend on Twitch is literally doing this every week. I just not interested in it. But Overwatch, I played in like the beta for Overwatch, and it was enjoyable, but I didn't understand it enough. I didn't understand the character-based fighting, because I came from Halo, which is everybody plays the same character, everybody has the same gun pool, there is zero variance in it. It comes down to how good you are at playing the game. So I didn't understand a character that has different aspects. It wasn't until I started playing Destiny and understanding that you can have different characters with the same weapon, but different talents. And that's where Overwatch got me, was because it has talents and not variance in guns. So it was like it required an evolution of the games that I enjoy for me to get to the point where I actually liked Overwatch. I need to click the next section. I forgot about that. There's my mouse. Yes, please. There we go. Entertainment news is where we're going into next. I think that another reason why America, or the Americas, have North America in particular, has gotten better at esports, is because it's now socially acceptable. Prior to the past year and a half, really, esports weren't a thing. You couldn't go to your parents and be like, "I want to do esports." Your parents would be like, "No, fuck you. I'm taking away your Nintendo. You need to go back to school." And now it's become way more socially acceptable. So whereas in Korea, for instance, it was socially acceptable way earlier, because there was already obviously a huge amount of money that could be made from it in that region. I just don't know how that worked out. I'm not a historian on this. I just know that that's a place that it was more popular. And I think that now, because it can be seen as an actual career path, fuck, live streaming is a career path at this point. You can basically make a career out of fucking anything as long as you have a personality and a brand and all that shit. I'm old. I don't fucking get any of this crap. Sorry, I don't read the chat fast enough either. Sorry. Okay. I could see that, the StarCraft thing. And yeah, Overwatch is definitely mastering how a particular character works. And like I said, for me, it required learning how Destiny worked with its characters having separations of types of powers. because they have their supers, and Titans could smash a thing, and Hunters shoot a thing, and Warlocks go bloop and make a bloop happen.
They make a bloop happen?
Yeah, actually, right now
That's what Torb does now. He just makes a bloop happen.
Well, that's my fucking most annoying thing right now, because they just gave everybody new powers in the new expansion, and now Warlocks can go invisible, and they can run around the entire map invisible and go bloop and kill everybody around them. They have the longest running, most destructive super in the game, and I'm sitting here as a Titan going, that's our job. Fuck you. Don't do that. And we're asking them to nerf it because, like, timeline-wise, whenever I activate my super, I have a amount of time I can run and a number of activations I can do within that amount of time. If I activate it, it will decrease my time, so therefore shortening the amount of distance I can go. They didn't do that for this class. They can go literally across the entire map, teleporting the entire time, invisible, and then explode on you and kill you, and I fucking hate it, and they need to die.
Right.
And I call it blooping because they go bloop, and it's the noise they make.
All right, we got one more comment before we get jump into this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, thank you. This is like the one chance we actually get to talk to you about stuff, like comment-wise. Like, because, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to be working on the show format a little bit. Around 300, I'm going to be changing things up. It might be a little bit more accessible to be able to discuss things with us on the air while we do it.
Okay.
That's all part of the plan of what I'm rewriting. And
yeah, we're doing behind-the-scenes... not I would say storyboarding, but it's not storyboarding. Planning of where we want this show to go for the future.
Yeah, so it definitely come episode 300, it's going to be it's going to be the same show, but also a very different show in a lot of ways.
I think we should probably work on it. We'll talk about this more outside of the show, because this is where we talk about those things. Like maybe we try to test the waters a little bit along the way.
Exactly.
We gotta ease everybody into it. You don't go straight to fisting, all right?
You don't, absolutely
You gotta ease into it.
You do. All right, let's jump into this.
Fuck you, I need... See, this is like where you keep the keyboard and mouse are very different than where I have to, because I have to do everything left-handed.
Right.
So it means the keyboard's in my way. Yeah. Level 3 entertainment news.
Hey, adventurers, welcome back to the show. All right. So it is the beginning of the fall season. All the big CW shows are obviously kicking off right now.
Yeah, they didn't do the release one at a time thing.
No.
They literally start with Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, Supernatural.
I think Legends of Tomorrow just aired.
Yeah, I haven't. Legends of Tomorrow was like 1 week behind.
Yeah.
Or maybe 2 weeks. That was it. Like and Black Lightning, all the exact same week, and they're like, here you go. Here's the week of fuck you. You didn't have anything to do before, but now your entire week's eaten up by watching this.
That is true. And one of the shows
and Riverdale
that we do watch is Supergirl, and Supergirl's been a show that has been enjoyable, but it's felt a little bit lackluster at times.
It's been more miss than hit.
Yeah, definitely more miss than hit. But it was revealed this week that one of the biggest Superman villains is finally going to be coming to Supergirl.
Lex Luthor.
Lex Luthor is going to be coming.
Oh shit! I actually didn't know that.
Yes.
I was hoping that it was going to be Lex Luthor.
Yep. Finally, after dancing around the issue for all this time, I assume that he was probably stuck in some kind of legal loophole with DC.
I wouldn't say legal. It was more of just a control issue. It was the same thing like why they wouldn't allow Superman to be on when Supergirl was on, was it CBS?
Yeah.
For its first season, they wouldn't allow Superman to be on the show then, but whenever it switched over to CW, they were a little more lax, and they said, okay, Superman could show up outside of the weird shadow that he was in the beginning.
Right. So we'd been getting hints about Lex Luthor for a long time. It's like, oh, he's in prison. He did
literally
a bad thing.
His mother and his sister are in the show already.
Right. And so now they're like, all right, so Lex Luthor's going to be getting brought in. And it's been a really big week for kind of Supergirl news because, of course, there's the picture that Stephen Amell put out, which showed a picture from the new crossover that's going to be coming in December. And it shows Superman standing in his like black and silver outfit, his Return of Superman outfit, essentially. That was a really big one. Of course, they showed the poster for the Elseworlds crossover, which has Stephen Amell playing the Flash and Grant Dustin playing the Green Arrow, and that is actually like part of the Elseworlds crossover. Of course, we know Batwoman's showing up in it. But what we've been hearing rumors about is that it's possible that based on the popularity of this Elseworlds crossover in December, Superman might get his own show, We don't know if it's going to happen. They're going to be testing the waters probably with the Elseworlds crossover to see if he's a popular enough character to carry it on his own.
I mean, that's what they did with Legends of Tomorrow. They took every character that was almost popular enough, but not quite, and then stuck them in a show together.
Right. And so this seems kind of like the safe bet on their part, is they can introduce Lex Luthor into the Supergirl universe, and if they don't go the direction of having a Superman show, then hey, you got Lex Luthor and Supergirl. But if it is popular enough, he can cross over, do all that good stuff.
All right, so that's one thing that has been kind of
I think
driving me crazy.
CW's got to stop making shows.
First off, yes. There's a finite amount of my life I can watch television during, and they're eating up a lot of it.
Yes.
And the one thing that I'm kind of irritated at, and this has been an ongoing thing for television shows for years, where you have the girl show and the guy show.
Right.
And this is the same thing in the comic books. You have the girl fights all the girl villains, and the guys fight all the guy villains.
Right.
And very rarely do they cross over because that's not the way gender neutrality works. I don't fucking know.
Right.
And I think that having Lex Luthor come in and go up against Supergirl is good for us as a society to have.
Right.
But if you decide, okay, well, now we're going to make a Superman show, Lex Luthor's going to go over here,
Right.
and we got to have Superman go over here, and you got to separate the genders again.
Right. You don't want that. You want it to be all inclusive.
Yeah, I basically want like everybody that's evil to kill off all the good people. Like that's what we should be doing.
That's really what you're hoping for with these CW shows.
Mostly, I just really want Lex Luthor. I don't know where the Superman's going to go, but I want Lex Luthor to kill him before the show can happen.
Now we know that Lex Luthor is not going to be part of the Elseworlds thing. He's still in the background. They haven't even cast him yet. Like we're not even that far in. We know that he will show up this season.
He's going to be like at the end of the season.
Yeah, I assume that's what it's going to be. It'll be an end of the season kind of like, here's Lex Luthor, get ready for the next season kind of deal. But that also means that Supergirl's really got to fix their shit before like the end of the season, because it's been a rough ride. Like, I'm on the last episode of last season of Supergirl, and I'm mentally exhausted by watching it, because I'm like, haven't you guys
it's tiring.
Haven't you guys already beaten this person like 8 times already, and we're still not wrapped up with the story?
That last season, I never finished that season. The most recent, or last year's season, I didn't finish it. Because I started this season and was like, oh, I don't know what happened. But I also really don't give a fuck because I can guess what happened.
Right.
As I knew what was going to happen in the end anyway,
Yeah.
and it happened. They did the thing, and I'm like, cool. I'm
Honestly,
ready for.
like,
and I think they're doing a new story now.
Right.
And I think that maybe this is the story because they're getting rid of, not getting rid of, but the Martian Manhunter isn't her father figure who's leading the charge. She is now.
Right.
She's the one that
She's coming into her own.
Yeah, she's coming into her own. We're getting rid of a lot of that baggage from the past. I think this might be the right time for Supergirl.
Okay.
Because
see, I have
it's hurt.
my differing opinion about this, and I know that nobody wants to hear it in terms of like the CW executives, but like y'all need to be making these shows like 10 to 13 episodes long and stagger them. Don't release like you can have like Flash and Arrow in the same week, but like wait till like a couple months out and then do Legends of Tomorrow. I get that you want to have
having yearly.
Like actually, I would
DC
prefer to
shows
have like,
would be cool.
like, yeah, having it like year round, and yeah, you can still cross over. But I'm saying what you could do that would be a cool concept is like, so you stagger it. Like Arrow takes place, and maybe the Flash is like your fall season stuff, and then you right at the beginning of the new year, maybe you do Legends of Tomorrow and Constantine. I'm just throwing shit out there.
On the off chance we ever get Constantine.
On the
again.
off chance you guys want to pick Constantine up.
I mean, he's in the Legends of Tomorrow now.
But then,
so.
like, what you can do is you could do something really cool. Is instead of having to focus everything around the fact that, hey, in December we've got to do a big crossover event during that summer break where you don't have any shows, do like a 2-hour movie crossover that maybe bleeds over into the next seasons for everybody.
A 3-hour crossover, 1 hour, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Keep everybody coming back.
Yeah.
And remembering, hey, by the way, we do DC shows and all that. There is a lot to be. I'm left wanting a lot with the DC stuff. I love the shows. I think Arrow is great, and they've gotten rid of a lot of baggage from the past.
Yeah.
The Flash is still the perfect gem that is the Flash. And
let's be real here. Legends of Tomorrow is probably the best show that they have.
Legends of Tomorrow is...
If you don't love Legends of Tomorrow, you have no soul.
Legends of Tomorrow is a wonderful show for people who don't want to look at the show while it's airing. They want to play on their phone. Because literally, you don't need to pay attention to that show. You just fuck off on your phone, and you're like, oh, cool, we're fighting a monkey.
It's so funny, though. It is like one of the funniest shows
You can
out
listen
there.
to the funny dialogue, but you don't never really have to really... It's not an active part, like, paying attention show.
That is true.
You don't need to actively participate your brain.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about this a little bit in the epilogue, but obviously we're kind of in this horror renaissance right now, and an element of that horror renaissance is kind of finding these new titles that have come out in book form and then adapting them to audiences. And FX has picked up a very interesting series that I'm kind of excited about. So the book is called Her Body... this is hard to say, I'm sorry. Her Body and Other Parties. Right,
Her Body and Other Parties?
Yes, that's the name of the book.
Okay.
And it is a short story collection that was put out. And the way that FX describes this book for people who haven't picked it up is a feminist Black Mirror.
Okay.
So it's a lot of like psychological tales. A lot of them do go into things like women's fears, things that, you know, women are scared of that, you know, we just don't make horror about because we don't think about those things.
We're also two dudes, so we don't know these.
Exactly. Like, it's just, we don't, right? There's that statement, right? Like, you've never had to walk down the street and act like you're on the phone because that you're a guy and don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
So it really is so it's gonna have like bits and pieces of the stories that thread together, but ultimately these are stories that are supposed to stand on their own. They're supposed to be just an anthology horror series. A lot of them are going to be directed by female directors. That is not a restriction. That's not something it was a mandate. These just said, we know some great female horror directors. We totally want to bring them on board for this project. And this cool idea of like this feminist Black Mirror, I'm really on board with because, and again, we're going to be talking about this a bit in the epilogue, but female horror directors are not something that we really had for a long time.
No, but we do have some amazing ones right now.
We do. We absolutely do. And we need to be embracing that and kind of cultivating it and, you know, showing these really cool stories. And yeah, I just was reading kind of the byline about this book. And I was like, I almost kind of want to pick this book up on one hand and like truck through it a little bit before the series comes out. On the other hand, I also kind of want to be surprised. So I don't know. I'm on the fence.
You gave me a really cool book that I want to read.
Yeah.
But also you told me it's going to be a TV show on FX, which means like it's going to be pretty well done.
Right.
But I have to wait like a year and a half probably to get it.
Exactly.
So it's like, do I get the thing that I want now or do I wait?
It's true. You're supporting the cause if you get it now. I don't know. I might end up breaking down and buying on like Audible or something. Like I might have
We'll see. We'll see what happens. It depends on how, depends on what I need right now. Like right now, I don't have time to read a book.
Right.
But there is always that like December dead television period where I might need to read a book.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
All right. So our last little bit of entertainment news for the week. And I know Tony's going to get into the technical parts of this, but just the general announcement is that as of literally today, LeBron James, the basketball player, is in talks to produce the Friday the 13th reboot. Now, he's already going to be working on the sequel to Space Jam. Just so you know, this isn't going to be his first foray.
Well, all right. So whenever LeBron James is my understanding, I don't really know a lot about him aside from he's kind of a piece of shit, but he's really good at basketball. Because he's really good at basketball, people wanted him to do the Space Jam sequel.
Right.
Because he's supposed to be better than Michael Jordan or some shit.
Okay,
but I'm
sure.
pretty sure he's also a horrible human being, if my memory is correct right now.
We are not sports people.
Google this.
We're not sports people.
I'm pretty sure he like hit a woman quite a few times.
I don't think that's the case, but we don't know.
I need to like check this really fast.
That would be a fact check. Let's not worry about that. Let's go on to the actual producing part of this, though. He's going to be working on Space Jam.
He's going to be working on Space Jam. He's probably acting in Space Jam because people wanted him to do it because he's supposed to be so fucking great as a basketball player.
Right.
I don't know about that. Maybe he is. Maybe he isn't. I
Right.
literally have no fucking clue. I know he made a lot of money.
So we don't know what's going on in terms of like how much control he's going to have over this, and that's why I said Tony's going to get a little bit more into the deep dive of what a producer does in case you're not familiar with it. But yeah, he's been already attached to Space Jam. Now he's going to be coming on possibly with the Friday the 13th reboot. Nothing's been set in stone as of yet, but if we're hearing about it right now, the talks are probably far enough along that they're going to be making a final decision on this whole thing pretty soon. So what that kind of brings to our audience here, in case you're unfamiliar with it, just hearing like basketball dude is going to be producing Friday the 13th. Oh no, like that upsets me in ways that I can't begin to describe. What is the role of a producer on a movie, Tony?
In general, it's find money and find people to hire to use said money to make a movie. That's the simplest way I can put it.
Right.
In some cases, there are more hands-on producers. There's executive producers, which are literally people who just find money and do that.
Right.
And there's actually like producers, which are more involved in the hiring process and getting the people to do the things, dictating kind of like where stories go based on their ideas, and directors and writers and piecing things together. In the case of LeBron James, he's a basketball star. He's actively playing basketball right now. He just switched teams. That was a thing that I saw on a television at a place recently. That's how I know that.
Sports balls.
Sports happened. He moved from one city to another.
Right. They do that.
Cool story, bro. Who gives a fuck? He's not going to have time to actually be a producer.
Right.
He's the money. He's the person. He's probably investing his own money in this to make the thing. And that's it.
There's going to be
It's
people
not-
with way more experience and more knowledge of Friday the 13th
that are doing this than he is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe he secretly has a Friday the 13th room in his fucking
Maybe.
giant mansion.
It's entirely
I
possible.
super highly doubt that.
Yeah.
I don't think he's probably that big of a horror fan. Probably somebody he knows is attached to the film in some way,
Right.
and said, hey, we could really use that like $150 million you have laying around.
Just laying around like in your mailbox.
Well, I mean, it's like, I mean, that's like how much he gets per year or some shit.
Right.
So like he literally has that laying around at this
Yeah.
point. He's been doing this for many years.
That is true.
So it's just an investment at this point. It's no different than investing in a lot of famous professional sports players invested into Overwatch League.
That is true.
So to me, it's no different.
Yeah,
than
the Texas Rangers bought into the Houston Outlaws, I believe.
Yeah. And that was the sports team getting into it. Shaquille O'Neal actually invested specifically into San Francisco. Their
The
team,
Shock?
the San Francisco Shock. And that was just the one I remember right now.
Okay.
But there were more than that. So this isn't the first time it's happened. Generally, it's more business oriented things that will last longer than a film.
Right.
So him coming in as a producer, weird. Him coming in as a person just invested money, that's something I kind of more expect.
Okay. All right. So we have a lot of horror stuff that we're going to be getting into. So why don't we go ahead and stop here? We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be going into our main talking point for the podcast, the epilogue.
That works because I need to feed the dog and I'm going to pee.
All right. Do it.
That was the reason I took the headphones off.
I will-
was hoping this section
I
was
w-
I could just be like, okay, you talk for a minute, I gotta pee.
I will field questions from the audience while you do that.
Try to read them, it's going to be very tiny text.
I know, right?
I can try and change the font size and see if it'll be larger.
We'll play with it. All right. What's going on, everybody? It's a very short entertainment section, but our horror thing is going to be really big this week, so. Boop. Boop. What's up, Mr. Will? How you been? Nice to actually see you in the live chat. Oh, man. I just realized this webcam is really good, but it also has me realize I really need to fucking shave. Yeah, we got a fridge full of beer. You know, we have that water ban in Austin right now. So we figured, you know, if we're on the water ban, then I guess we're just gonna be drinking a lot of beer. It's been crazy. I don't know how it's been on your side of Austin, but like every gas station, HEB, freaking grocery store, everything has been completely sold out of water. It's been pretty ridiculous.
So I was just thinking about that, since we're in like a boil thing, like, do we have to boil water before we take a shower?
No, the water heater takes care of that.
Okay, so we don't have to like rub ourselves down with like the alcohol or whatever afterwards?
I would absolutely love you to grab a whole big old thing of like that
Like
rubbing alcohol and just pour it all over yourself before you get in the shower to make sure that the water is going to be okay.
Wouldn't I do it after the shower because the shower's been on me?
I don't know, Tony.
I mean, that would make sense because then I'd be getting the worms or whatever on me.
Yeah. The worms crawling in and out.
The worms do that sometimes, I hear.
All right.
Okay, yeah, I'm good on beer. Oh, what are we drinking tonight?
You're drinking the Axis IPA.
Yeah, Axis IPA from Real Ale.
Yeah, and I've got the Mosaic.
Mosaic's pretty good beer.
Just a good light, enjoyable.
I get this one because it's $7.99 at HEB.
There you go.
And it is 7.1%
I
alcohol.
was wondering what made you change over to start drinking IPAs.
It's mostly just this one because it's very cheap.
The pumpkin spice of white dudes.
It's yeah. The thing is, like, I'm not talking about like how I hate the hoppiness.
Yeah.
I like alcohol. I like beer because there's alcohol in it.
Yeah, it's true.
Alcohol is the only way that life is tolerable. So I'm going to drink the things that have more of it.
Do it. All right, let's swap over to the epilogue and do this
Don't
thing.
drink the shower water. That's actually kind of fun. Like, how do we brush our teeth now?
They said that hot water heaters will be fine.
So we have to use hot water to
Yes.
wash our, which is fine because I brush my teeth in the shower.
I brush my teeth in the shower too, so I'm
Yeah.
good.
Where's my mute button? There we go. Oh, headphones. I took them off. I really had to pee. I was preparing. I was like, oh, fuck, I actually have to talk during this one. I don't like this. I really just wanted to go pee. And I need to click the next. Are you done? I'm going to trim your nails because you keep clacking. I need you to go lay down next to Aaron.
There's a very cute dog on the floor. That's what you
Yeah,
guys are missing.
there's a dog that doesn't want to. Come on, let's go sit next to Aaron. Come on, go hang out with Aaron.
This is making for some great radio. Hi, everybody. I swear we are actually going to be finishing the show. Like, we're on it right now.
Like your way of saying is just waving it in the air.
Has anybody seen the new Halloween movie? I need to know if we want to go see it or not. I've been hearing good things. A lot of people are saying that's really good.
Okay. New Halloween. I ain't got time for that.
Everybody says it's really good.
Everybody else also said Rob Zombie's Halloween 1 and 2 weren't good, and I like those, so they can
Well,
fuck
you're-
off.
you're the
Everybody
only-
else also said the remake of Evil Dead was a piece of shit, and I really like that, so they can go fuck off. Everybody else is a fucking dipshit.
All right, let's do this.
All right, fine. Fuck me.
What'd you just do?
I moved the mouse and clicked at the same time, so I pressed play. So hopefully this will not. We have as long as we went in the last section or the last section to
That
do
was
this.
very short.
Or I save this and open up a new file and it should work better. We'll see. Just turning around. Problem with new mouse is I don't know where the clicking is yet. All right.
Yeah, we got a new mouse because we had like an old Amazon Basics one, and I was like, this is not going to work. I don't even have like a melee button bound for my Overwatch, so I'm just going to get a new mouse. And apparently it's just screwing up the entire podcast, so welcome to that. Hi, everybody. We are...
I mean, if I move the mouse over here, which I do have enough cable for, I think.
Do whatever feels right.
No, it feels wrong.
Okay. Well, we've got it all set up. Let's do this.
Hopefully this does not. I open up a new track or a new program and see if it'll work.
All right.
Epilogue.
Hey, adventurers, welcome back to the show. This is our epilogue. This is our main talking point for the podcast, sometimes related to the news, sometimes not. As you very well know, this has been the month of horror We've been doing horror-themed
It's
everything.
October. That's what
it's
we do
October.
here.
We're getting
I
spooky.
mean, we live horror movies all year long. We
Yes.
like the spoopies all the time.
Yes, I'm a year-round horror fan, but at least this time of year gives us an excuse to make every epilogue about horror in some way.
Yeah, that's really the reason why we do this. Is it's finally socially acceptable.
Right. It's socially as my inner like 16-year-old goth kid. Like I'm just happy that it's the time of year where it's acceptable to dress like that. So this week we're going to be talking about the resurgence of horror. So it's no secret that we're in the middle of a horror renaissance. This week I wanted to take a deep dive into kind of why that's happened and what it means for the future of horror. So when I talk about horror renaissance, I mean that we are getting a lot of really great quality horror content that has been coming out over the last several years, and it's only been kind of steamrolling. It's been getting bigger and bigger as the months go on. So some people, let's call them James, would say that the first shots that were fired that got this new renaissance going was kind of The Babadook. So The Babadook was written and directed by Jennifer Kent, and for a long time, horror was considered purely the realm of white dudes. So my first question for the panel is, does this newfound wave of horror have anything to do with minority directors a la Jordan Peele and women being given the chance to finally really scare us?
Yes. So I've long had this theory that, and it's not really a theory, a lot of people have also had it, so I guess it's a theory that's just commonly known, that horror is tied to society's ebb and flow. Whenever we're afraid, we watch more things that make us afraid. When we're happy, we watch more things that make us happy. But that isn't the case with the modern resurgence with horror, because it started whenever we were happy, weirdly enough. Like, and that's not historically what happens.
All right.
So I think in this one case, because it changed, we have to like sit there and look at what were the determining factors that made this time different than the other pre-times.
So
preset, whatever the fuck.
going with that assumption, going down your train of thought, because these movies like The Babadook came out at a time where we were happier, right? As a society,
we were in a better place. And I'm going to go pre-Babadook for mine.
So
it's the let the right one in.
Okay. So I'll get to that in a sec. But so what I was kind of saying with that is that we were, as a society, specifically the U.S. society, much more comfortable with where we were. And so we were fighting for equality. We were trying to address things like racism. We were trying to find a way to make the world a better place.
I mean, so gay people were finally allowed to get married, and
right?
That just showed you how good the world had moved.
Yeah, things were going pretty great.
We were like,
it was
the
awesome.
train was moving forward,
right? And so then what that did was kind of open the doors where we said, what are these things that we've had kind of restrictions on the past? And that's things like horror, where we said it's always been kind of stuffy white dudes that made horror. That's just the rules. And now we're saying, hey, there's this Australian lady who's making some really good horror. Instead of just not putting it out here, why don't we actually distribute that? Or why don't we take a comedic black actor like Jordan Peele and allow him to work on a project that otherwise probably would not have gotten greenlit, that tells a story that old stuffy white dudes just wouldn't tell.
All right, so part of it is a change within the Hollywood idea. And it's because people that aren't stuffy old white dudes have been fighting to get positions of power for many years now. And these people are finally in that position where it's not just stuffy white dudes that will do weird, bad sexual stuff to you if you don't do what they tell you to do, because that was the thing that happened this last couple years that we found out about.
It's been a rough couple of years
for old stuffy white dudes.
Yes, absolutely. Don't touch people inappropriately. Consent is key, guys. That's what we're saying.
Unless you have that kind of relationship where you don't have to. But that's a relationship. That's a whole thing. You've talked about it.
It's a type of consent.
It's a different
thing.
And
we're not a sexual podcast. But if you'd like us to start a geek sexual podcast, please let us know and donate to the show, and we'll do it.
We'll pretty much do anything you ask us if you give us money.
That is true. So it's really weird because it is very cultural, right? We now are at a point in Hollywood where we are getting more female directors. We're getting more minority directors. And I think that part of this resurgence that we were seeing, this newfound wave of horror that's coming in, really has to do with the fact that we are now being given the chance to hear these stories from people who probably had amazing horror stories for hundreds of years, and we wouldn't listen to them. By the way,
dude, seriously, Mary Shelley
I was gonna
created
say,
science fiction and horror in one fucking book, and she was a woman.
She
created this.
That's exactly where I was going with it. I was like, everybody gets bent out of shape, women can't do horror. Do you realize where horror comes from?
Literally horror and science fiction. These two things that did not exist.
Yeah,
outside of
horror's
religious
always
text.
existed, but yeah, but I mean, Mary Shelley, man, how can you just crap?
So I think that one of the reasons why horror in particular has gotten such a interesting resurgence or reinvigoration with people that aren't stuffy white dudes.
Yeah.
Basically everybody else in the world that
exactly.
isn't us is because for what I said earlier, we're having people that aren't stuffy white dudes in power. Also, horror movies are generally really fucking cheap to make. So you can take that leap of chance with somebody that maybe doesn't have the biggest portfolio of films behind them.
Right.
They're not asking, for this super high budget. They're saying, I just want this small amount of money to do this small fun thing that generally, historically speaking at least, will give you a big return on money because it's a horror film.
Right.
And that allows us to it's a very cheap barrier to entry.
Right.
And I'm interested, while I do love the horror resurgence, and we've got some great horror movies that have been coming out. They're so good. There's so many great things that have been going on. I'm looking forward to what happens after that. What movies they want to do that aren't horror movies.
Right.
That where we are we still going to have people who have been marginalized making these films, but they're not horror anymore. They're telling us dramas. They're giving us action movies. They're giving us anything else that could have a higher budget, more complicated thing that isn't a art piece movie, something that's going for the Academy Award because they want to just be controversial, something that's middle of the fucking road. Let's see where that fucking goes.
Yeah.
Look what James Wan did. James Wan made fucking amazing horror movies for relatively fucking cheap, and has gone on to do other things that aren't that. Action movies.
He's doing Aquaman.
He's doing Aquaman. He did fucking Fast and the Furious.
Yeah, it's true.
To go on and do these other ideas and then still come back to that to go say, hey, I'm still a minority. I've still had to deal with this bullshit, and I want to kind of tell those stories.
And the fact that he's going for every Aquaman that I'm doing, I'm still pumping out a Conjuring.
Yeah,
let's go. Okay,
as long as we keep getting a Conjuring every so often,
main entry Conjuring, and honestly, they take enough break between them. They still come out as really high quality films.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the Nun wasn't the best.
Well, I mean, for the main entries,
but that wasn't a numbered version of The Conjuring.
So, on top of great directors from non-white male walks of life, we're also seeing a lot of great films like It Follows that really pay homage to classic works like the stuff that John Carpenter did. I mean, literally, It Follows is like a love letter to John Carpenter, right? Why do we think that is? Why are we now getting into this point where we're seeing these love letters to old school writers and directors?
Well, for one, enough time has passed. We were raised on those films, so we are going to be heavily influenced by them.
Right.
And a lot of those directors aren't with us anymore, or they're not directing, or time's moved on, and we can see how we can be influenced by them. Look at the strength of Stranger Things, an entire show that was built on love of 80s movies and Stephen King and everything 80s that happened during that time frame, whether it be films or books or whatever, shown in a television series, and you can feel all those influences. Yeah. And it's still made by two white dudes, but
yeah, it is. But when you think about something like It Follows,
but I'm using it as an example of something that was being an homage to the past. Enough time has passed. Dude, it's been over 30 years since we've had John Carpenter's make some, or even 40 years in some cases for some of these films. Yeah. That we can see how we've moved on, but also how we can reinterpret previous directors' works. You always build on the past. Right,
and that's something that we really haven't addressed. We've been kind of dancing around the issue here, is that any writer, director, even Stephen King will cop to this. Any writer, director, anybody who does anything creative, literally, they are pulling from their shared experiences. There's a reason why Stephen King reads as many books as he does. Like, he's like, I'm always reading everything because there's inspiration in everything.
Yeah. So this is something that actually kind of drives me crazy.
Yeah.
But this is because it has to be true. It's the write what you know kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which is why writers write about writing.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many movies about making movies.
Oh, yeah.
There are so many comedians tell jokes about being comedians.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you make the thing of that thing you know.
Right. And so you as a writer, when you're writing horror, you don't just wake up one day and say, oh, I just make the best horror ever. You are influenced by the things that you've read. Yeah. I've seen it myself. I've seen it,
which is going to be like every book is about a writer writing a book about horror.
Right. Like even in my own writing, sometimes I will take a step back, and while nobody else will see, I'll be like, I feel like I just like pulled a Stephen King with this one sentence. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's probably because that sentence is 5 pages long, but
and quite possibly actually lifted from one of his books. We don't know. He wrote a lot.
We don't know. Yeah, who knows? But yeah, it's one of those things that even in my own creative endeavors, like I'll go and write something, and I'll go back and read a certain sentence or something. And I'll go, God, that reminds me a lot of this particular writer.
And that comes down to you understanding a writer well enough to understand how they phrase a sentence based on the context of the surrounding paragraph.
And so to kind of dial this whole thing back, the reasons that
Same thing with film. You create scenes and characters based on... you feel that they are based on something else because of how you know that director or writer or how that film was shot and edited and acted and set. It's all put. It's way more cogs than just a book,
right?
But you can see how all of those cogs can kind of be roughly replaced. It's a watch, but it's a slightly different watch. Think of it that way. Like there's all these little tiny moving pieces. They still tell you the exact same time, and you still get the same feeling, but they're definitely not the same watch, and they definitely have different parts in them. But they essentially are this. They have the same effect, and that's.
It's quite the analogy, by the way.
Yeah, I think
it's very impressive.
Yeah, sure, watches are movies. That's how things go.
But I mean, I see why movies like It Follows, follows that formula. One, it's a love letter to the thing that the directors and writers grew up with. But I mean, the little details, like the synth work and the sound, like that was replicated because those things evoked a certain emotion in those writers and directors, and they wanted to convey that same emotion, so they tapped into the thing that they knew.
Summer of '84, while we're not talking about marginalized writers or directors, because I honestly forgot the names of anybody who made the movie Summer '84, but that's a movie that has that same thing. It feels like a movie that was shot in 1980, like the mid '80s. It has the weird the synth music. It has the sets are perfectly shot like that. The film grain is that way. The camera angles, the setups are that way, but slightly modernized in a staging of storytelling.
Right.
It's the 80s, but obviously not. And that's what's interesting with how we are able to look back at what has come previously and how we can change that and move on and still embrace that, because there are things that I love about the 80s because that's whenever I grew up.
Right.
But I'm looking at it through the rose-tinted glasses of childhood, not as an adult who could literally sit there and go like, look back and go, it's a lot of horrible shit was going on.
Sure.
And then that's where film study comes in. Why were these movies coming out at that point in time? How did the creation of those influence what we have now? And then what influenced the other influence of the influencer? Basically, how this all go back to the fucking first black and white films or even just photography. You have to follow everything forward. And right now we are basing our works off of amazing horror that existed previously. And again, this is purely, we get amazing horror right now because it's fucking cheaper.
That is true.
It is so much cheaper to make a horror film, and that's why we're getting such great horror films right now.
That is true. So great periods in horror tend to be lumped by genre. So there was the slasher wave of the 80s, the 70s, 80s, the torture porn of the early 2000s. We had the post-Blair Witch shaky camera wave. But
I had a theory
that it could be bunnies.
No, this isn't necessarily a theory. I could pull a timeline that we have this stupid Kardashian bullshit and all those Real Housewives TV shows entirely because we had Blair Witch.
So you think reality television?
Reality television exists because Blair Witch happened.
Okay.
We took the idea of having a soap opera. Soap operas existed for many years.
Except for your timelines off because The Real World on MTV came out way before The Blair Witch.
I'm going to go with both of them then, because there wasn't really The Real World is... Yeah, actually, no. They both. I would say, yeah, both of them. Real World. We've had this discussion before about The Real World and how it actually was the one that made all the things.
Yeah, it's true. So, like I was saying, there was all these different genres, right? We had the slasher wave of the 80s, torture porn 2000s. But this wave of horror has no designation to it. It's almost like it's a Wild West of horror all over again. So what's the catalyst? Why is the horror that we're making now so diverse than as laser focused?
What did we start the entire section of the epilogue talking about?
I know. I mean,
the diversity of the people who are creating the things allows for the diversity of the storytelling.
Right.
So the types of stories that we're telling are very diverse. They're not just subject to one stuffy white dude idea.
That's true. It's about diversity.
Your
That's
answer,
the key word.
Your answer was in the question. It's literally diversity.
I do that intentionally sometimes, Tony. I try to make this easier for you.
I just feel like I have to spell out the answer to you sometimes. Like you wrote the question being like, I don't know what this is.
Tony,
like,
I write all these questions already knowing the answer, all right? This is more for you guys.
This is they don't know that.
All right, so successful horror is no longer relegated to a 2-hour movie. What has changed to bring about this new rise of television horror?
Netflix.
Okay.
Oh, and not just television horror. Also, like the not just an hour and 30 minutes, which is the average movie length even to this day.
Yeah.
We have horror movies that are longer than that now, like in theaters, and that is entirely because of Lord of the Rings and Netflix.
Right.
We have the ongoing binge watch type shows. You could say it was American Horror Story if you want to go with a specific example of horror,
Right.
but it's not. Netflix created binge watching, created long form storytelling that was accessible and bingeable. And that's why we have more of these things, especially on streaming services. And yeah, American Horror Story did some good stuff for it. I still don't believe American Horror should actually be called Horror Story. It should be called, look at this weird kind of creepy show that has a bunch of shit that doesn't need to be in it half the time.
That was actually the original title, but they had to change it.
Yeah, it was really wordy.
Yeah,
really wordy.
So I had a side opinion about this. And the first thing that kind of popped into my head was Game of Thrones.
Okay.
And the reason I mentioned Game of Thrones is that for a long time, like, yes, there were shows coming out on Netflix. Yes, there were some good shows on TV. But it was a long time before we had one of those shows where everybody like talked about it. Like, it was such a part of the public zeitgeist that like
for a little while it was like The Office, and that was the thing people talked about. And it was the Office was just the new Friends.
Right. But
nothing struck the larger gamut of people that was, because The Office is just a generic show. And that's the entire point of it, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely
Whereas something like Game of Thrones it's
a spectacle.
Is a really high fantasy spectacle, and it's a political intrigue.
But accessible to everybody who watched it. People,
as long as you could pay attention.
Sure. But people who weren't nerds, let's throw that word out there, would follow this show and be interested in it. And it had a high budget.
Mm-hmm.
And so because of Game of Thrones re-engaging everybody on to migrate towards TV again, have those water cooler discussions, say these great, complicated, rich stories can be told, and they can be done with a high budget, and they can be accessible to everybody. Because of the popularity of that, the bleed off, I'm not saying that it's a one-to-one correlation, but the bleed off of that is the reason that we've got things like The Haunting of Hill House.
No, and your idea, your premise is good, but then there's always but this other thing came first that caused that.
Sure.
Because immediately you go, well, Dexter was before the Game of Thrones,
sure.
And that had that same water cooler effect of people talking about this, and it wasn't just a generic comedy show.
Right.
And then you go, well, Oz was before that, and that was another HBO show that people sat around and talked about that wasn't a generic comedy
and
show.
There's The Wire and all that stuff.
Yeah, you can always go down the line and find something that helped create the other thing.
I just feel like that Game of Thrones really brought a lot to the forefront. And I'm not saying that there is a correlation between The Haunting of Hill House and Game of Thrones, but I don't think that you really would have had the kind of television presence that The Haunting of Hill House has had.
I see what you mean, especially budget-wise, that something like Game of Thrones has been such a high-budget creation of such high political, high fantasy that required that level of money just to make, would lead to something like The Haunting of Hill House, which did have a very high budget that you can tell that time and energy and money was actually spent on this project.
There is an episode that only cuts 3 times.
And that's not budget. That is because you
budget.
are actually editing a lot and you are cutting a lot, but you are having to make the camera be seamless.
Yep.
Which is way easier with technology nowadays, by the way. You can just seamlessly move a camera as long as you shoot in a larger frame than what you're actually showing. Either way, now that I don't want to go into the side subject of how films are actually made, it's The Haunting of Hill House is brilliant. It's brilliant storytelling. It's a horror show that's at the end of it. I felt that it's always that the end of every good horror is the horror is humans, and you just sit there and crying. Like basically the last 3 hours of that, because there's hour-long episodes, just like bawling my eyes. I'm like, why are we doing this? Like I was pretty inconsolable the entire time. I'm glad I had the day off. I could just sit there in my room and just be fucked up. And like you notice you didn't see me for like a good day and a half. I was just sitting in my room watching that show and being like, no, I'm
just gonna sit here and cry.
I'm just gonna sit here and be quiet.
I'm like pushing you like fried chicken under the door, and I don't even know what's going on.
I'm just gonna sit here in the dark and not be okay. And it worked. And that is a testament to how good that show is
and how good horror's become.
Yes,
absolutely.
We're getting the remake of Suspiria, and
it looks beautiful.
Yeah, I'm stupidly looking forward to that. Yeah. And unfortunately, some minor things have been spoiled for me just because the internet likes to put headlines before actual content. So they're like, blah, did this. And you're like, cool, thanks. I didn't want to read that, but I did now.
Yeah. So we've talked a lot about various factors over the course of this, but if you had to summarize what really brought on the modern horror renaissance, if you had to just byline this whole thing, what would it be? If you had to pitch me why we are in the modern horror renaissance.
70s feminism.
Really?
It's entirely out of 70s feminism.
Okay.
70s feminism created the environment that we have now. This changing of the guard within Hollywood to have access to these creators to tell these new and unique stories. And if we hadn't had that wave of feminism, we would not be telling these types of stories right now. And I'm looking forward to because we have another wave of feminism finally like truly coming out, what happens in 30 years.
Yeah. And I mean, not to dismiss it altogether, but to that same point, we are at a time of kind of civil unrest when it comes to things like racism. And
gender equality,
and we are trying to
sexual equality.
With movies like Get Out, we're trying to combat that, right? Like we're trying to take these things that are really hard to talk about subjects, put them in an entertaining format, albeit uncomfortable, but these topics are uncomfortable. We should be talking about it, right? It's a way for us to have a political discourse without us yelling at each other, which is the problem right now.
How do you get old, stuffy white dudes to understand my point of view whenever I'm not an old, stuffy white dude?
Right.
And that's how you that's the question of how you engage someone. How do you get someone to see your side of the story?
Right.
Because people are inherently biased to their pre-existing opinions, and it takes.
If the country's taught us anything,
it takes a lot to convince someone that their ideas might not be the correct ideas.
Right.
That the way they were taught, the way they were raised, is not the correct way that society should be moving forward. And only history will tell us if we are right or wrong on either side.
Sure.
And while I feel that I am right on a lot of my choices and my ideas, it doesn't necessarily mean that history will prove
that.
Well,
the thing you do with a hamster is not. That's very illegal. You should not be doing that.
Fuck you. That was. I mean, I get you're trying to make a joke, but that was not.
I had to get one in there.
Speaking of get one in there, we need more hamsters. Fuck, now you made me lose
I
my train of
derailed you, I
thought.
know, I'm sorry.
I had this great fucking thing
I know
going.
that's my talent.
Normally that's my job. My job is like, oh, you have this really cool thing you got talking about right now? Yeah, dick farts. And just, what?
So I think that you're absolutely in the right here. Like the tearing down of walls, so to speak, allowing for more diversity in the Hollywood space has brought on this new wave of horror. We're hearing these stories that we've never gotten to hear before, and that's a huge factor in it.
The other side section is the internet. We've become more an international audience. So things like whenever I initially said "Let the Right One In," the original version of that is definitely not made in America.
Yeah, and it's actually better, but they're both good. But
They're both really good.
Yeah, they're both really good.
The American version is literally like a shot-for-shot remake of the first one.
I just prefer the Swedish one a little bit more.
But we have this new international horror coming out, and we have access to it for a change. We can actually see how other countries...
We're no longer going to horror conventions, diving into a $5 bin of VHSs.
or going to like the a film festival, and you're watching 20 movies in a day, and you're just trying to figure out what the fuck's going on, at which point they all comes out to a blur. You actually have the time to sit down and enjoy something, to make it part of your brain, to understand the thing you're seeing, and to understand culturally where it's coming from, because we have access to understanding cultures more.
Yeah, that's true.
We're blending.
It's a work in progress. Humanity's a work in progress.
Humanity is nothing but a work in progress. Unfortunately, it's mostly just putting square pegs in round holes, and it's not doing a very good job of it.
Right. And so my final opinion about this whole thing, when it comes to what really brought on this horror renaissance, we would be remiss, we are not a political podcast, to mention that the current state of the world is not one in which we feel comfortable.
Well, specifically creative types. People who, by default, are going to be marginalized by society because generally think outside of what the norm would be. Or have, in the case of like Clive Barker and some other writers and creators, sexual things that are not part of the normal, what is okay of society.
Right.
And that becomes part of your storytelling. That becomes part of your art. And that becomes a way to express your ideas, your feelings.
Yeah, the Cenobites don't look like that because he thought they were cute, by the way, just so you know. Go look at his Tumblr. Don't look at his Tumblr.
We've
not look at his Tumblr.
I think since episode 1... Clive Barker has an interesting Tumblr. Never look at it. We'll do that for you, and we are frightened.
Yeah. So there's a lot of factors here to what brought on this modern horror renaissance, but the reason I'm so excited for it is that we are getting these new, original, creative, different stories. These are the stories that will get remade in Hollywood someday, that will get refined and viewed by a different generation. And I'm looking forward to the things that are coming out. I'm not looking forward to the factors that are causing it at all. But I am looking forward to the horror, and at least if there's going to be one take, if the world's going to be kind of crappy, at least we get some therapy in the form of horror.
Yeah, see, you're looking at it as our society's what's causing this, or because you're going with my old idea of the times, like bad times equal good, like bad scary or scary times scary movies.
Yeah.
I'm looking at past that at this point. I don't think that is going to be the case going forward anymore.
Okay.
And I think we're an interesting time for filmmaking, and horror just happens to be the cheapest, easiest to access way to tell some of those stories right now. I'm looking forward to the future because once we get past this, fingers fucking crossed.
Fingers crossed. We're in this together, guys.
We will be able to tell some stories that aren't because
of society.
Of the society having a bad times making bad movies. Scary times. I keep saying bad because the times are bad, but the movies are scary.
Yeah.
But scary times, scary movies.
I like this. This might be a breakthrough on this podcast. By the way, this might be the one epilogue in 282 episodes where Tony says, "By the way, I'm looking forward to the future." So just put a pin in that, guys. This is a really big deal. We should celebrate that. All right, that's everything that we have for the show this week. This was about the Renaissance in modern horror. If you have any opinions about any of the things that we've talked about, even if you just want to rant at us about the epilogue, please do that. We love hearing from you. Tony, where can they find us? Facebook.com/TheSurlyNerd. Like, share. Twitter's @TheSurlyNerd.
don't use Twitter.
I use it. Talk to me.
James uses Twitter. I don't use Twitter. So that's who you're going to talk to.
Talk to me.
You know, you're going to talk to James, not me. He'll relay messages. Speaking of messages, you can send us an email at info@thesurlynerd.com. I believe it's working now.
Nope.
God damn it. Stupid email. If you know how to fix email, send us a message on anything other than our email.
Right now, you can contact us at thesurlynerd@gmail.com.
Yeah, that's our go-to default email address, thesurlynerd@gmail.com. I like having the other one working. It will work eventually.
It will work. I think I know what the problem is, but continue.
For the millionth time, we think we know what the problem is. Outside of that, this is the part where everybody's already tuned out anyway, so we just say where the fuck we want.
Horse dicks.
Donald Duck doesn't wear pants because he likes showing his genitalia to children.
That's really weird. That's very dark.
I've had another idea. This is something I need to say. I just need to get this out there. Why did the Ninja Turtles wear masks? They're giant mutant turtles. This has kept me up for like a day and a half now. Like, I keep thinking about this.
Keeping you up at night?
Yes, it bothers me. I get why they're color coded. That's so children can tell which one's which.
But why the masks?
But why originally? Because they were comic book characters and they all were red. Why were they wearing masks at all? They're fucking turtles.
All right, that's everything we have for the show this week. Again, contact us at The Surly Nerd on Twitter. Seriously, guys, share with your friends, all that good stuff.
Donate if you want to. Whatever.
Yes, please. Until next. Oh, by the way, thank you for the donation this week. We really appreciate that. That's really going to go far. It really does mean a lot. Until next week, for Tony, this is James.
For James, this is Tony.
Adventures, good night.
And good game. Okay, it gives them character, but it doesn't give them character because they're all wearing the same mask. I'm talking about the original
Thank you guys.
Eastman and Laird comic. They all had masks and they were all red. So that doesn't really differentiate them between favorite turtle. When I was a kid, Michelangelo is an adult Raphael. The other, Leonardo, I don't care. Donatello, I'm not the brain kid, obviously. I just... I liked Michelangelo because he was funny when I was a kid, and he said silly, funny things. As an adult, I go, well, Raphael's right about everything because the world sucks and we should just stab everything. So that's where that goes. All right, let me see if I can merge files while we're doing this. I played the NES game a little bit. I don't remember it, though, so I don't remember who is... Leonardo stabbed shit, and he had a pretty good range. Michelangelo, Donatello had the largest range because he had a staff. That's my memory of the game. I do need to go play the new version that they have at every arcade now. There's the new Ninja Turtles game, and... it hasn't come out to consoles. It was one that we talked about many, many episodes ago that was just like, holy shit, why aren't they making this part of the console release? And I figured that eventually they would, and they still haven't, so I need to figure that shit out. Come on, did you actually? No, okay, you did. Good. I'm talking to the computer because I do that. That's how I do. So I'm going to go ahead and sign us out of here so I can edit this shit and get it all donezo. For the evening, and I will catch y'all next week. Again, if you want to hit us up on all the things. Yeah, I got nothing. Good night.